I'm CK. Tonight I'm going to build a clock because my bedside clock is starting to go a little nutty. It's a kit clock from a once great kit maker who has fallen on very hard times, and it's just not very good. So I'm going to replace it with one I just picked up off of Amazon. I don't even know the name, but I'll post a link in the description. We'll put it together and see how it goes together and see how well it works. And I hope you enjoy the video. Let's see how we'll open this up. Oh, I left my scissors on the other side of the workshop. So I'll just use a little X-Acto knife blade. Okay, talking clock kit. Huh. I don't know if I want the clock to talk to me, but we'll put it together anyway. There's a chip, it's an STC microcontroller, and then a DS1302. I bet that's the clock, but I'm not sure. Little compact case. That's nice. It's well made. That's a nice little case. Big old display pieces. Standard. I think these are green, or at least that's what the picture showed. Of course, the pictures can be lies. Here's the USB power connector. Little speaker. Depending on how hard this is to set and to turn off the alarm and other things, I may delete this, because part of my challenge with all these silly clocks is you forget how to set them and set the alarm. Let's look at the circuit board. The circuit board looks pretty good. Double-sided, so the numbers will go here and the electrical components will go here. The values are not listed on the components, so we will need the build guide. And the build guide looks like it's right here. Oops, there's something else. Little sunscreen or filter. Oh, here's a little, oh, there's a little surface mount thing here. If this is a talking thing, this may be the speech synthesis chip, I don't know. And a little pin header. But let's look at the piece of paper that comes with. Okay. Nothing particularly out of... Oh, it's got a thermistor. Huh. So it must have a temperature display too. Jeez. Let's see. We've got electrolytic photoresistor. Good. It's a photoresistor, so it'll dim. And now let's see. I'm looking at the setting instructions and I'm already confused. They do have a good schematic. Well, they have a schematic here. It's not good because it's printed very poorly. We'll go to the their website and see if they have a better picture of this. Yeah, so here, that's the output to the speaker. I believe that's going to be, so the speaker, it connects here, and that'll be coming from U3. And U3 is a guess at this point. So that'll be U3. I think this is a little oh, I see. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to solder these pins into that little board and make that its own kind of IC. That's the NY3P065. Let's see what that says, if it says anything about it. It's not very descriptive what it is. Let me get the I'll get the build guide up after I look at all the parts. I'm sorry, I don't want to go out of order or else I'll forget where I am. Let's see what bits are in the bits bag. We've got some 10K resistors, and I think these are 330. We've got 10Ks and 330 resistors, primarily that are going to be buffering the display output, I believe. And we've got a regular power connector, a couple of tactile switches, 3 of them actually, photoresistor, and this I believe is the thermistor. Then there's a battery which will provide backup power to the clock so it doesn't lose time if you get a power outage. With my Tesla solar roof and Powerwall batteries, I don't have power outages anymore, but it's still good to have. Okay, so we've got on the side, we'll have a function key, a plus key, and a voice key. So that's it. It looks relatively straightforward. Again, this circuit board is actually very good. It's through-hole plated. This is good. This is surface mount quality board. So I think it'll go together pretty well. So I got the soldering iron heated up, and we'll put this thing together. So the build guide turns out to be very good, very detailed. Arrows for placing all the components, clearly identifying the components, and doing a good job of telling you how to set it up later. So, and here's the schematic, and it's very good. Gosh darn it, why did you do that? There we go. So yeah, you can get a lot out of this. Yeah, and that's the voice chip, and that's the clock chip over here. And it's in both English and Chinese, so you don't have to worry about getting the wrong build guide. It's the same build guide for both. So we're going to start out as we typically do with all the resistors. And we're going to start with the 330 ohm ones. And these are quarter watt. These are really small resistors, but this is a very low power product. So first thing we do with resistors is say how close do you have to bend the leads to the body to make it fit. Looks like you have to leave a millimeter on each. Oh, the other thing I want to do before I start is I want to check the tolerance on these resistors. They're brown band tolerance, so they're not the best, but I'm sure they'll be fine. This again, this is supposed to be 330 ohms, and it comes out to 325. So that's 5 ohms off. Not the most precise, but for a product like this, it's not a big deal. So we'll put one on. And see how the board takes solder. Oh, perfectly. And when I talk about through-hole, if you're not familiar with that, through-hole plating, that means that the metal on the board that you're going to be soldering to is not just on the surface, it is plated all the way through the hole to the other side. What that means is when you solder, you're not just getting solder on the one side. The solder is actually flowing into that hole and surrounding the lead. You can see it here, it comes all the way through to the other side. That makes a very, very reliable solder joint, and also ensures that you're not going to get corrosion, but mainly it's just a really high conductive, high reliability solder joint. So that's all there is to say about resistors. So I'm going to put all the rest of the 330s and then all the 10Ks on, and I have to adjust my light a little bit. I will be doing that without commentary, and I will speed up the playback while I'm doing this. And I'm going to be listening to Von Weber's Clarinet Quintet in B-flat major on WQXR's app, the best classical music station. Download the app from your app store and listen to it. Enjoy resistor time. It's all the resistors. Now we'll put the disc caps on. 1/10 of a microfarad. Go at... They actually don't include the position numbers on the board. They are just giving you the arrows. That's unfortunate. Let me see if they've got a parts list at the top. I don't think they did. No. But that's okay. We've got a couple of 22 picofarad caps to go in here also. I believe these are, all the caps are decoupling caps for the ICs on the board. That provides certain a level of what I'll call power conditioning to the integrated circuits, which you need. Go look up decoupling cap capacitor on your favorite search engine, and it'll explain to you in good detail why you have these little capacitors, relatively low value capacitors, right near integrated circuits. This is the crystal, timing crystal. I don't know what frequency it is because there's no marking on the cylinder. That's too bad. I really don't know what it is, but that's okay. Now it goes in like this, but then you're going to lean it over. So make sure you don't stuff the base all the way flat on the board, because you do want to lean it over. Now I'm going to solder these components. Next we're going to put this LED here. Now I don't know, is the polarity, yeah, the polarity is marked. There's a plus sign stamped on this leg and a negative sign stamped on that leg. And as you can hopefully see, I think I'm going to change this lens back. I switched lenses on the overhead camera the other day. I think I'm going to switch it back to my other one. So this is a flat surface mount type thing. So the way I'm going to install it is I'm going to take little solder on this positive pad, just spread it out like that. Little solder on this negative pad. Again, just spread it out like so. And I'm going to take a pair of tweezers and hold the LED like that. Put it on top of those little pools of solder I created. Lay the soldering iron on top of it, and it just melts in. Now that's not going anywhere. And we'll do the same thing with the other side. It's a pretty common way to do any surface mount, whether it's a big component like this or a tiny LED or surface mount resistor. Now we've got the battery to put in, and this one, it's got a little tab there which matches the tab on the board because that keeps the battery from sliding all the way through. It's a stop for the battery. So I'm going to rest that on my pinky finger while I solder one of these legs. And of course the unfortunate thing about that is that it's metal, so it conducts heat. Ow! Fortunately, I've been building electronics for more than 5 decades, so most of the nerves on my fingers have been burnt so many times I barely feel burns. Now we're going to put the IC sockets on. And the key thing there, where did they go? Here they are. They're in this little bag. Key thing there is you want to make sure that the little notch in the IC socket is pointed at the same end as the notch indication printed on the circuit board itself. Now I do this the same way I did that battery holder, but a little bit different. I'm going to solder one leg on this IC, and then I'm going to take a look. Make sure I've got it flat on the board, and I do. So I can do the rest of the pins, but I won't right yet. I'm going to mount the other two by their single leg also, and then I'll do all the pins, all the remaining pins at once, because then I can just zap, zap, zap. And one leg, let it cool, take a look. Yep, that's flat. And this one, notch in the right place. Solder one leg. Didn't actually get the solder on it. Solder one leg. Make sure it's flat. It is flat. Now I'll do all the pins. Now we're going to do the two electrolytics. There is a 470 microfarad. That's pretty beefy. And this should be a 10, and that's a 10. And the 470 goes here. Long leg is the positive side. And these are both, the 470 is only a 10 volt cap. That's low capacity, low voltage. I'm surprised at that. I'm not going to solder those right yet. Now we're going to put See, they did this again. I don't know who's running the translation software. Many of these kits originating from China call transistors, I'm double checking, all these transistors are the same part number. In their documentation they call the transistors triodes, and while they are all the same, while they operate kind of like a triode, they're transistors. This is a triode. It's a dual triode, 12AX7. Triode, transistor. They work in a similar but not the same fashion. Now, the flat side on the transistor, of course, goes to the broader flat mark on the circuit board. If you do it backwards, things will not work very well. That's those. What's next? We want to put all the switches on in the power connector. I'm going to do the power connector first. It's keyed, so you can only put it on one way. Now, this is one area where I recommend you don't be stingy on the solder, because this solder is the mechanical connection. That's what's holding the connector in, so when you plug and unplug it, you're relying on this solder to hold everything tight. I'm actually going to stop here for a second and see the power connector legs come up a little bit. I want to just make sure that they won't interfere with the display, because if they will, I will cut them down now. Gotta get the pins right. These pins are being fussy. No, that won't interfere at all. It goes flat. So that's fine. I got to take this back off because I've got to solder the wristor later, the temperature sensor later. Now we'll put the switches in. They're tactile type switch. They're not tactile type switches. I mean they're tactile type switches, but they're at a right angle, and they clip right in like that, and they've got little bent legs to hold it in place, so you don't have to hold it with your finger when you're soldering it or whatever. Just don't beat on it with your soldering iron. Be a little bit gentle, and they won't go anywhere. I'm just doing the main pins first, so if I do get a little rough, things aren't going to fall out. Now I'll do the support legs, and again, don't skimp on solder on these support legs, because they're what's providing the fit to the board while you press these buttons. Okay, that's the switches. Click, click, click. Now we're going to do the photoresistor and the temperature sensor, the thermistor. And that will go over here. And we're going to have it up. We're not going to have it flat on the board. We're going to have it, say, a 1/4 inch up, so it's picking up the ambient air. And I need to hold that up for the moment. Where's my cutout? I have it up about 4 or 5 millimeters because you want your temperature sensor not up against something solid like the circuit board, but hanging in the air so you get true air temperature and not anything to do with the board. And the photoresistors the same way. By the way, neither of these are polarized, obviously, because I haven't mentioned it, but you want to put the photoresistor in a similar fashion, because we're going to be adjusting this a little bit so it gets a good look outside. This photoresistor will tell the microcontroller how bright it is, so it can adjust the voltage going to the display to make it brighter or darker depending on the ambient light. Put this down this way just to solder this last lead. Now they have a complete picture and say, make sure everything is good before we take the next steps, which is always a good idea. I'm going to check my solder joints. I usually do this. Take a little index card and look at each solder joint for two things. One, to make sure it's a good solder joint, and number two, that I actually soldered them. It has certainly happened that I have missed solder joints in the past. Usually non-catastrophically, but it is something just to double check, takes a second. Now we're going to put the digital tubes in. The third tube should be installed upside down. Okay. So I'm sorry, the picture is not perfect. Okay. So we are going to put them in like so. With the third one upside down. And upside down means on these, whether they're the large ones like this or the small one, this dot is always lower right. So in this case we're installing this one with the dot in the upper left. I'm actually not quite sure why, but we'll find that out. Oh, I know why. Because he's going to be using these two dots, which light up, as the colon between the hours and the seconds. That's a clever thing to do. I've seen other clocks which actually add additional components to do that. Are we seriously doing this now? Huh. I wouldn't have necessarily done this now. In fact, I'm not sure. I have to look at the speaker position, because the speaker wires go here, and we're already covering them up. It's as if they want to surface mount those speaker wires, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go off script a little bit here and take out my two speaker wires, which are in their own little bag somewhere. There they are. And I'm going to do these before I put the display on. And this is always the hardest part for me, is keeping wires where they're supposed to be until I can solder them. And it fell out again. I'm terrible at this. Because you can do it the way and I moved the board and the wire came out. Of course I moved the board and the wire came out. So I'm going to give in and use a pair of locking tweezers to hold the wire while I solder it. Because I can't be trusted to do it all by myself. You can do it the other way, as I was saying, because you could treat it like a surface mount position, just like the battery box or the LED we put on a little while ago. I would prefer to do it this way. But the other way is not wrong. It's just not the way I want to do it today. Things like these locking tweezers, invaluable. Get yourself a pair or two. You will use them more times than you think as you go through your times of building stuff. Now there's 40 pins to get soldered next. Can I do that with these 3 scraps of solder? Oh, heck yes I can. There's all that. Now we're going to do we're going to put the chips on, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this, flip this back over, we're going to make this thing into a chip. So this is a surface mount chip that they want to use for the speech generation, and they didn't want to make a surface mount pad on the board, so we're going to put it in this socket. But to do that we have to add legs to it, and that's what this pin header is for. We're going to cut it in half and have 4 pins on each side and put them through like so. Make sure they're all the way seated. That's all good, and I'm making sure I didn't touch the surface mount leads. Now we can put all the chips on. This is the microcontroller from STC, a very popular microcontroller. It's got a notch there, which goes in the same place as the notch on the circuit board printing and the notch on the socket. Now, oh, we didn't do both ends of the, oh, I guess he did. We didn't do both ends of the speaker. I'll do both ends of the speaker while I'm here. And this, again, this is, there's not a hole for these, so we're treating this like a surface mount thing again. And we'll make a little pool of solder here and a little pool of solder here. This is an 8 ohm, half a watt speaker, and these are not polarized. this speaker is not of the kind of quality that it matters what phase it's in. There we go. Now we're going to slide our backup battery into the backup battery holder. Oops, cap. Now we're going to turn it on, because we may as well make sure it works before we go further. I'm going to unplug something. Oh, I can use that connection. Never mind. I'm going to turn this light off. And let's plug this in and see what happens. Yep.
AM 521.
Huh. Okay. Power on to 5 volts to reset the circuit. Press and hold the 3 buttons simultaneously for more than 5 seconds. Display 12 after reset. So, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And there we have it. There's our 12 o'clock. And let me hit the voice button again. I'm going to bring the mic closer to it.
12 o'clock. 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. That's pretty good, isn't it? So I guess it doesn't actually talk a lot, which is good. I'll press and hold the top switch to turn on the LED.
12 o'clock.
Oh, this top switch. Nope, not that top switch. What are you talking about there, little guys? I'm not sure why. Oh, press and hold the top switch to turn on the LED. And the LED is there. You have a little night light in your clock if you want it. Now I'm going to peel some film off these because we're going to put that other coating film that we saw. I'm going to turn the lights back on. And we'll do the rest of this with the thing plugged in, because why not? So far, this is a pretty good kit. Good quality components, good build instructions.
12:01.
And all kinds of good stuff. Now we're going to take this filter film and put it on there. And now we're going to put this in the case. Grab the case. And now we're going to have the thermistor go up. I'm going to bend the thermistor leads so it goes up, so it's out in the air. Now, where's the back? The speaker kind of friction fits into the back. There's a little notch, there's a couple of little there's a notch in the perimeter of the speaker, and there's a notch in the plastic, so you can line those up. And it should go in well. There it goes. And we'll put everything together, which is the hardest part for me of all of this. And I don't have it right for some reason because I'm spazzing. Huh. Speaker wires. Speaker wires are not quite long enough. Well, that's a little irritating. I'm pulling the power out so I can mess with this. Well, that's not great. Maybe if I take it around. No. Oh, that red speaker wire is not long enough. Maybe if I wrap it around like that. Did that get it long enough? Nope. Still not quite. It's barely, oops. And I tried too hard and pulled it loose from the solder. So that's irritating. So I am going to have to replace this red speaker wire. Let me get some more red wire. So I'm going to use this wire, and I'm going to make it about 5 millimeters longer, let's say. That should work fine. Tin this up. I thought I was done soldering. Fortunately, I didn't turn my soldering iron off. Tin that up. Tin the other end up. Now I've got to get in here and do the surface mount application of this, and you got to be careful when you're doing something like this because you've got a whole bunch of components already installed. That's good. Now we'll do what we did before to get the wire into that little pool of solder. And that's good. Now, it should fit just fine. And it does. Now we've got 4 little screws that drop in here. Tightening opposite corners first. And thoughtfully they gave us an extra screw in case something goes wrong. They actually gave us 1 extra resistor of each type and 1 extra 22 picofarad capacitor in case you need them. And if you don't need them, you put them in your spares box, and you slowly over time, if you build a bunch of kits, you'll find you've collected a whole bunch of spares that can be very handy. And now, plug it in again. So let me go ahead and set it. We're going to go into testing mode. So first we're going to reset. We're going to press all 3 keys for 5 seconds. And it's not actually doing what it says. It says it's supposed to go to 8 or 7:59, but it's going to noon. I mean 12. I'm fine with that. So now we're going to adjust the clock. Oops.
12 o'clock.
So it's not 12 right now. It is 11:04. So that's clock. Now this is the alarm, and we don't care about the alarm. And that is set by, if that little light is on, the alarm is on. If it's off, it's off. So that's the alarm. And now this is an hourly chime. So you set the time, like here it would start chiming at after 9 o'clock, and then you can set the end time. So we don't care about that. And there's the end time for hourly chime. And then this turns it on or off. This light on is on, that light on is off. And then you can set the temperature. Oops. Press function key to exit, and we're out of everything. Now you can adjust the temperature and set up the... I'm sorry.
11:05.
I want to get out of this mode. Press function key to exit, and setting is complete. Nope, it's not. Here we go. Now, to adjust the temperature, so it's showing 23°C, and in my garage, in my workshop right now, it is I'm showing 14°C on both. So let me figure out how to set that. Press function key to adjust the temperature. Oh, it won't go down as low as 14. That's interesting. What is 14°C? My thing in the workshop might be wrong. No, 14 is right. This doesn't go low enough. I'll leave it at 17. That's 3 degrees off, but that's whatever. Okay, so that. Meanwhile, it enters function. We adjusted the temperature. We did that. And then meanwhile, it enters the function to adjust the year. Nope. Oh, okay, there's the year. Press that, and we'll go up to 2023. We'll confirm yes. Function key again to press function key for confirmation. Now this is the date. Press function key and the month blinks, and that is correct. Function key, and then what's today? It's the 26th. Okay. Function key, day blinks, function key to confirm the day, plus that shows the weekday. Function key, weekday blinks, and today is the 5th, I guess. I don't really care. And then we exit that, and it's 1 o'clock. Now, mode setting, this is the thing that I'm the most concerned about. So, press voice and function. And now there are 3 modes. Mode 1 circulates all the time, temperature, date, and weekday constantly. Mode 2 where is it? Mode 2, time and temperature. Mode 3, only time. So we want to get into mode 3 because we don't want it just flashing. Huh. Oh, that's the day again. Okay, that didn't do what I thought it would be. Voice and function. That's voice and function. And that's... Oh, okay, you have to press function, not plus. So we will go to mode 3. And then we can press function key again for 24 or 12-hour clock. I'll leave it on 24. Then we'll change this to Fahrenheit because I read Fahrenheit better. And now we'll press this to exit. And we've got it all set up. And we can hear the happy little person again.
11:10.
So that's it. It's a pretty good clock. It's got lots of features and functionality, most of which, as you could see, I'm ignoring. But it's a good unit, and as you saw, a pretty good build. Probably not the first build for somebody, but a build that, with help, would be very easy and straightforward. And I hope you enjoyed the video.